to another Wheel of Time video. A while ago, I posted this image on my YouTube and my Discord, basically just asking for people to give me their unpopular Wheel of Time opinions. And I made some videos about this a while back, but people kept doing it in my Discord. So I recorded a video. This is actually part 2 of the video that I recorded last week, where I was looking for people's hot takes. And once again, this video goes full spoilers. I mean, it is to be expected. We are giving unpopular opinions about the series, so yes. This goes full spoilers. If you've not finished the entire Wheel of Time book series, there's not a safe video for you. We go all in. But yeah, so I guess without further ado, let's just get into the hot takes.
Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy. Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy.
Okay, this one is from Materials Dan. Okay. Andrel's use of gateways was a step too far into hard magic. Oh, okay. Gateways should not be usable for leatherworks or to see battlefields or to move lava for reasons. Death gates being a special exception. This is interesting. Okay. This is very interesting to me. I disagree. Now, I do think it's interesting that you're feeling the hard magic in Andrel's use of gateways, when that's in, you know, the parts of the books that were written by Brandon Sanderson, who is known for his magic system. So, yeah. The reason it doesn't bother me, again, it's because of that part of my brain that doesn't think that the books are fake, that thinks of them as real. That the more I thought about gateways, the more it frustrated me that people didn't do stuff like this. Like, we have scenes in the books that Robert Jordan wrote where somebody opens a gateway and, like, Matt has a slice of his boot cut off, or, like, there's blades of grass cut so precisely, or, you know, and you could see through a gateway. So it just frustrated me that nobody thought, like, if in the real world this happens with medicine all the time. They'll be testing a medicine for one thing and then be like, whoops, everybody that we gave this medicine to got boners. Well, I guess we have Viagra now. Like, that's literally kind of what happened with that medicine. Like, you know, when you are making and using a technology and you accidentally see that it can do other things, you don't go, well, I only made it for this, and so you use it for other things. That in the real world, that would happen. So when people were using gateways and these other things that were, you know, being able to see through them, seeing that it sliced through this blade of grass, it drove me crazy that nobody was thinking this. Now, I guess that is using it as hard magic, but they didn't bother me. So, yeah. Okay, I've got another one here from Sunny Ghost. I'm interested in at what point this happened to people. So generally speaking, most readers start off liking Egwene and backing her and wanting her to succeed. And then there's a point where that changes. It can turn to full hate for the rest of the books. A lot of people find the Nynaeve incident in Tel'aran'rhiod, the Fires of Heaven, yes, to a point of no return. Or certainly view the Eggster in a rather unfavorable light. I started to go off her in The Dragon Reborn before that. Just one or two places where I was just not on board with her way of thinking, which then seemed to get more and more snobby and sniffy as the books went on. I brushed it off as rather stiff writing dialogue among the Aes Sedai world, but then the Tel'aran'rhiod incident was the tipping point. However, I admit to cheering her on in the Gathering Storm, of course, at the Battle of the White Tower, and a few incidents with the rebels were great. Then feeling really odd about it, and that hits me every time. So if you do not turn against the Eggster, if you two turned against the Eggster, when did it happen for you? Or did you not turn on her and were a fan of hers throughout, and that became your unpopular opinion? Okay, liking Egwene an unpopular opinion is right in certain circles. If you are on Reddit, it is right. I think it's probably pretty, like, half and half in the fandom between people who love her and people who hate her. So I guess that's an unpopular opinion. If it's 50%, I don't know. For me, I, again, have talked about this a lot. The point that I start to go off is, okay, that's the Tel'aran'rhiod incident, but it's not the one that people think of, because I literally just removed that from the books, because I feel like the way it is dealt with in the books does not feel correct. Like, the fact that nobody ever thinks about it again, not even Nynaeve thinks about the horrible thing in that, like that. It's literally one paragraph, and then it's never talked about again. But Nynaeve afterwards thinks more about, like, the bad tasting thing going into her mouth. It's okay. I feel, I say this sensitively, I feel like maybe RJ didn't quite realize how horrific a thing that he had written was. And so he just didn't deal with it properly. However, the rest of it does upset me because of, like, when we go back in and we're in Egwene's perspective, how gleeful she is at having cowed Nynaeve. Like, how it's just, like, so funny and so hilarious that Nynaeve was scared of me. Oh my God, that's so amazing. Like, she's really, really gleeful, and we're in her head about it, so it's her own thoughts and whatever, but that's not a great look for anyone, to, especially, again, it's Nynaeve, and in the book canon, Nynaeve literally saved her from slavery. And not that long ago from this moment. Like, it's probably less than a year. So, you know, it's very, very not good. The moment that is, for me, the ultimate turning point, though, is when Egwene apologizes to the Wise Ones for having lied to them about being an Aes Sedai. And then goes and, like, goes through Tel'aran'rhiod, gets back to Saladar, and then doesn't apologize to Elaine or Nynaeve. And I have had a bit of a revelation on this, and realizing that part of my anger at Egwene for this is because I know information that, like, I know things about Nynaeve that Egwene doesn't know, and I know things about Egwene that Nynaeve doesn't know. Nynaeve doesn't know that Egwene was lying to her in that moment and used, like, everything to, like, these lies and half-truths to manipulate and scare her and basically take her down a peg. I know that. Nynaeve doesn't. So Nynaeve's not hurt by this lie because she doesn't know it exists. And I know that part of what Egwene did to Nynaeve in that moment is part of what basically unravels Nynaeve's, like, Nynaeve has always been insecure, but The Fires of Heaven is the book where it just, like, everything comes to a head. She is basically in a huge depression spiral throughout that book. That's treated as comedy, but it's horrible. Like, everybody is just trampling over her all the time and making her feel less than who she is, and she's basically bottoming out as far as her self-confidence is concerned. And it kind of begins with what Egwene did. Egwene doesn't know that, though. So, like, Egwene doesn't know how much Nynaeve would need that, and Nynaeve doesn't know how much she's owed that. So I am looking at it from, like, this omnipotent perspective, or omniscient perspective, going, fix it. But they don't. It still bothers me when I read, because it bothers me in the sense of Egwene valuing her relationship with the Wise Ones more than valuing her relationship with Nynaeve, who, again, is her friend from childhood, who left her home to keep her safe, who literally rescued her from slavery. You know, you're not owed thing, like, but it's just, it makes me have less love for Egwene. But by the time the Gathering Storm comes around, I'm back in her side. I'm not, like, loving her the way I love her at the beginning, but I'm definitely in her corner. Like, definitely in her corner by that point. Okay, again, from my Sunny Ghost. Not sure if it's unpopular or not, but do we need the White Ajah? Surely a branch of Browns could cover their turf. In my opinion, the Whites are the weakest Ajah in terms of the bigger picture. If Aes Sedai are servants of all, how do the Whites really fit that mandate? I'm sorry, Sean Sedai. Sean Sedai considers herself a White Ajah, and she, like, fits all of the scriptures of it, so yes. But I don't know what the Whites do at all. Like, and they do feel like they could fold into the Browns. The Browns feel much more happy about it, though, than the White. Like, I don't know what the Whites are doing. Like, math? Like, because, like, I think there's a reference at some point to there being books in the library that are about math and logic. Okay, so if we talk about, and that those were mostly read by the Whites. I'm pretty sure there's a reference to that somewhere in the books. Math is important, right? Like, for engineering and all sorts of things. Maybe that is what they're doing, because that is important. Again, I don't know why that's an Aes Sedai thing, though. It's just... Okay, we got one here by Vinicius. Okay. Hello, guys. It's not a hot take, but I really appreciate the little stories in the books. One of my favorite is the chapter 19 of Fires of Heaven. Not only made me like more gays and this subplot, but made the world feel very alive in a sense. Like, there's a whole world of things happening in this, not only in the Rand babbling about how he's responsible for the world and salvation of all humanity. Maybe this is the hot take after all. Rand is a very tiring character. I know he has reasons for it, but dear wheel, it makes me excited to know a little bit of every other thing that is happening in the world, rather than reading Rand POV. Not English first language speaker. Okay. Very well written, for not being English. I'm going to look up chapter 19 of Fires of Heaven. Just a second. Okay, I'm on tarvalin.net, and Morghese is in her sitting room. Guardsman Lieutenant Martin Talonvor tells her of a rebellion in the Two Rivers. Okay, so this is, yeah, that scene. Basically the scene where Morghese realizes that she has to leave and she escapes. Okay. I mean, I will agree with, was it Vinicius? I'm not sure how to pronounce your username. But I love the side stories, the side characters. It's one of the reasons that the world feels so real. Robert Jordan is so good at that. Where you just, like, you're in someone's head or someone's perspective. I mean, Morghese is a character we actually get a few POVs from. But there are other chapters where it's like, one POV, one chapter, like a couple of paragraphs from this one character's head, and they feel so real. It's again, one of the world has weight. Like when you're watching like a Marvel movie, right? And everything is great, right? And in the end, it's like two weightless characters punching each other because it's all CGI, and it immediately loses its weight because the characters feel like they're fighting in zero G. That's like Robert Jordan's characters all feel like they have weight and depth, so it feels real. When they step on the ground, you feel the reverberations. Like scenes like that, like in chapter 19 of Fires of Heaven, or like when you're in Hadnan Kadir's head for like a paragraph, like a couple of pages, it's just like boom, boom. They feel like they make ripples in the world. He's so good at that. Rand, I mean, you're talking to me. Rand was never my guy. I like Rand. I never, like, when I say that, people think that means I don't like him. It's not that I dislike him. He's just never been the character that I was like, oh, that's my guy. Like, he's just always like, yeah, okay. Somebody said this as I was explaining it to them once. I think it might have been Vance, part of the Red Hand. But maybe it was somebody else. I don't know. Rand feels like plot more than character to me. The other characters feel like characters. So, yeah. Okay, another hot take from Alex. The Whitecloaks have a point regarding the Aes Sedai. We see firsthand at Demise Wells and Natron's Barrow what an unchecked Ashaman or Aes Sedai is capable of. The only guarantee that we have of Aes Sedai not doing this is the 3 O's, of which we know it is true because of POV chapters. And the Shan-Chan admitting that the newly leashed Damane are useless in battle. Yep. Others outside of Aes Sedai don't see the 3 Oaths ceremony. They know Aes Sedai tell the truth, but even Tam Althor and Tom call it out as being half-truths and omitting critical information. Let me put it another way. Imagine you are going about your normal life and you have Q from Next Gen show up, deciding to have some fun. He is doing stuff you cannot comprehend. You have no way of stopping him, and you have no reason to trust him. So why would Whitecloaks or anyone trust any Aes Sedai? This is not just, like, this is just a case of, like, any superhero story. I mean, it's like The Boys, you're watching, if you give anybody unchecked power like that, or just powers beyond what humans have, it's the balance between freedom and safety that we are. I mean, any society, that's what we're going for. If you are the most free, you're probably also the least safe, like, because everybody having, like, ultimate freedom to do whatever the hell they want, I mean, some of them are going to try and hurt people. Not everybody, but enough of them are that people are not going to be safe. So you need to bring up the safety, which decreases the freedoms, right? Like, when I drive a car, I'm not free to just drive it wherever the fuck I want. I have to drive in the right lane on the roads. I'm not supposed to drive on the sidewalk, even if that would get me there faster, because that's not safe. Like, so this is, yeah, this is just a universal question of just freedoms versus safety. And the more power people have, yeah, this is not just a question for that. The Whitecloaks, I would not say necessarily, because they are going about it in such a horrific way. And the fact that the Whitecloaks are going about it in a bad way. The 3 Oaths do exist. And the Whitecloaks, like, everybody knows that, like, sorry, I'm thinking so fast, and my words can't catch up to the thoughts in my head. Tom and Tam, they call it out as being half-truths and omitting critical information. but they know that the oaths exist. Like, they know that the oaths exist. So they basically, it's not that they think that the Aes Sedai are breaking the oaths. They know that the oaths mean that the Aes Sedai can work around them. So if the oath is that I will not use the one power as a weapon, well, maybe you can work around that. But the fact is, everybody knows that those oaths exist. So the Whitecloaks are basically assuming that the oaths don't exist, is what they are. What everybody in the world is assuming, everybody else in Randland is assuming that they do exist. And the fact that the Aes Sedai are not out there, like they, if I was a Whitecloak and believed that the Aes Sedai did not take the three oaths, then my next question would be, well, why don't they rule the world? Because they could. They could just kill us all. So they have just decided for the last, 1,000 years since whatever they took these oaths, to just not? Well, then they must be, like, the Whitecloaks' beliefs don't make sense. They're rooted, in my opinion, a lot in just, I don't like women having power. Like, that's the feeling that I'm getting from the Whitecloaks. So, okay, Sean, I should have known the Sean today would come to this, especially if they're talking about Egwene, because I know Egwene is her girl. Okay, regarding Egwene, I never stopped liking her. Once Moraine went to Finland, she was my main protagonist. The scene in Tel'aran'rhiod was kind of shitty, sure, but neither she nor Nynaeve gave it much thought after that. Again, the scene that everybody talks about is not the problem for me. Again, just, I've already said it, I won't say it again. But it's removed from the story in my brain. Yeah, neither she nor Nynaeve gave it much thought after that, so it's hard to be upset on Nynaeve's behalf if she isn't upset herself. The thing is, Nynaeve was upset about the rest of it. That's what I'm upset about. Okay. Speaking of Nynaeve, she used the power on Mat when he found her in the Stone of Tyr, when Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine were cooling their heels in a cell guarded by Amiko. Nynaeve never really catches any flack for this. It's always Egwene who bears the brunt of the hate, for they never thanked Mat Discourse. Egwene bears the brunt of the hate for being basically rude to men, just in general. Like, that's just, she's rude to Mat, she's rude to Rand. Like, people get very upset with Egwene for this, which I do not. Nynaeve was doing the exact same thing to Mat that Egwene was doing to Nynaeve in Tel'aran'rhiod, teaching someone that they are in over their head, exactly as Amis had taught Egwene in Tel'aran'rhiod previously. I disagree with Shansa about this, but we have already talked about it. Sorry, just conversations that Shansa and I have had off my videos coming into this, but Mat was an idiot to try and rescue women who can channel from other women who can channel, especially since those other women are Black Ajah. If Amiko had been awake or Joy had been present, Mat is a steaming puddle on the floor. I've talked about this again before. It drives me crazy that everybody frames what happened with the girls in the dungeons and Mat coming in. They will say, Mat rescued them, and ignore the fact that the girls did 90% of the work. Mat opened the door. Mat opened the door. If the girls had not done the 90% of the work ahead of time, and by the girls, by the way, it's Egwene, because, like, Nynaeve in that moment sang a lullaby to Egwene. That's what Nynaeve did. That was Nynaeve's contribution to that battle. Oh, she did punch. Like, she punched Amiko afterwards. She punched people. But, like, no, everything that Nynaeve did ahead of this moment didn't work. So, Egwene did the majority of the work. Mat did a lot of work to get in there. Like, but the fact that everybody acts like the girls were just passively waiting for a man to come and save them in this moment drives me insane. That's not what happened. Okay, Wadaholic Aussie here. My seemingly unpopular opinion. I love even all the 2,700 odd characters in these books. Even Gawyn. I mean, I don't love all of them. I definitely don't love Gawyn. But I love a lot of them. Okay, Sunny Ghost again. After the breaking, Aes Sedai were like the channeling police over whom and how it could be done. And they did need to do that for the world's sake for a time. But ultimately, I think they held back society by centuries on ever regaining anything near the Age of Legends type of technological advances. They got more and more stubborn over the set way things could be done, like healing methods, and would not budge from their ways even if a discovery was found, and not just on channeling issues. Unlike the likes of Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve, until the likes of Egwene and Elaine and Nynaeve began to show their skills, dragged out from Moggy or not, and even then it was like pulling teeth for the Aes Sedai to accept there might be better ways of achieving some tasks. If someone invented electric lighting, it would have would almost be guaranteed that the Aes Sedai would claim they much prefer their trusty old spitting, tallow-smelling, wavering rushlight, even if inside they want an electric bulb so badly. But they never admit it. Civilization's advancement held back by pride, but most likely a little fear too, even after all this time since the breaking. This is an interesting take on this. I think the canon explanation for why the world has been stuck and is actually in decline since the breaking, like it has never basically gotten back to that point, is Ishii. I don't know if you know this, but like I think it's from the White Book of Bad Art, but we also like get hints of this. Every 1,000 years, Ishii was able to come out a bit from, you know, being sealed by, like, from the ceiling basically, and would wreak havoc on the world. So you got the Trolloc Wars, and like I can't remember what else it was, but like I think it was maybe King Arthur, basically conquering everything and going, yeah, because he made Arthur hate, King Arthur Hawkwing hate the Aes Sedai so much. So, okay, there's a lot of that. Like, Ishii would, like, things would start to come up. You'd have, you know, the Accord of the 10 Nations, and then Ishii would come up and, like, and break everything and start that again. Ishii also started the Black Ajah. My headcanon for a lot of the, and I don't, like, I'm saying headcanon, I actually think this is officially canon, but it's never said explicitly, is that a lot of the faults of the Aes Sedai can be laid at Ishii's feet with the Black Ajah, with him, like, not just like, oh, Black Ajah, serve me, be evil, do evil, like in very, very obvious ways of like killing and murdering and whatever, but also halt progress, like keep everything static and stay, because Ishii did not want to come back to a world that had all of what existed during the Age of Legends. He did not want to come back and have to handle or deal with a competent White Tower. So that is my headcanon for this. Now, there definitely is Aes Sedai pride in there, but I think their pride is largely formed, or the way that their pride, not just pride, the word I'm looking for, their refusal to try new things. I think a lot of that was informed by the Black Ajah, just basically keeping them in a specific box. All right, Alex back again. Okay, here's another serious hot take. Ooh, not all caps, dark one, Alex. Okay, I'd love it if the Watch Show has a female wolf brother. Yes! In the books, we have Perrin, Elias, and no women. We know or can infer from wolf memories that women have been wolf brothers before. Now imagine if instead of Fael versus Barrowlane, we'd gotten, a Fael versus a woman wolf brother, one who'd understand what Perrin's dealing with and could guide him. You'd still have Fael being jealous, but instead of a woman who won't listen to Perrin saying he's not interested, we can instead have a mutual attraction in the whole she understands me, something that Fael cannot. That would make so much more sense. The Barrowlane Fael thing drives me absolutely crazy because it makes both of these women look like they're both just, okay, this would make a lot of sense. A female wolf brother, wolf sister would be incredible. Yes, absolutely incredible. This would work. I still don't know that we necessarily need Fael versus anyone. Like, I don't think that added anything to the story. Like, literally, it just makes it really, really frustrating to read. Like, I'm trying to think, like, does it improve? Does it help anybody grow? Does it? I don't think it does. I really don't think it added anything. So I don't think that this is necessary, but this is a much better version of it than we got. Because this she understands me, something that Fael cannot, is so much more real than I don't want to use my words and tell Barrowlane to back off. Like, I don't know. Perrin was such an idiot in that situation, and he gets none of the flack from the fandom. Fael is the only one that nobody gets mad at Barrowlane, and nobody gets mad at Perrin in this situation. I mean, aside from people in like my little corner of the fandom, but in the fandom at large, everybody hates on Fael for this. And of all the people in those three, Fael is the most innocent victim of anybody. She's just sitting there being like, why is this woman going after my husband? Why won't my husband tell the woman to back off? Like, that's what she's dealing with right now. And the dark one, Alex. There are never enough Wheel of Time memes, especially when Lesbian Nerdy is starting to get caught up. I'm still over a year behind, so there are enough. There are enough. I mean, I love the memes, but... All right, one from Mikey Wolfie Boots Boy. Wolfie Boots Boy. Yeah. He's always in my live streams for Baldur's Gate. Okay, here's one for you then. When I first started reading, I hated Nynaeve. She just came across as moody, judgmental. Yeah, I've changed my mind now, of course. Please don't hit me. I just didn't understand her back then. Very, very weirdly, I gave a whole talk about Egwene earlier and how I just have issues with Egwene. Nynaeve is my girl. I will back her until the cows come home. I will back her until the day I die. I love her. When people tell me that they don't like Nynaeve, I am not nearly as defensive as when I hear people tell me that they don't like Egwene. Because usually their reasons for not liking Nynaeve are like this. She's moody. She's judgmental. You could say she's violent. Like she is. She is all of those things. She's impulsive. The reasons for not liking her generally make sense, and I get it. And I one of my very, very first videos, the video that actually was the reason I made a YouTube channel in the first place, because I wanted to get this out there about Nynaeve. I said Nynaeve is like cilantro. Where I love cilantro, it's great. Some people, cilantro tastes like soap. And I get it. Like, if she tastes bad to you, she tastes bad. Like, it's fine. Egwene, on the other hand, most of the time, and again, I gave a whole talk about her, but most of the time when people will talk about not liking Egwene, it just sounds like they don't like strong women. They're like, she's just rude. Who's she rude to? She's rude to Matt and Rand. Okay, you don't care that she was ever rude to him? No, you only care that she was rude to men? Okay, she's aggressive. So is everybody, but you don't care that, Rand's aggressive or parent. No, you just care that she's assertive. She's ambitious. What? They just don't whenever you hear about it, their reasons are just misogyny. It's very, very rarely a reason that I feel like makes sense. Yeah. So, even if you still didn't like Nynaeve, I probably wouldn't have a problem with it because Nynaeve is a strong flavor. She's a really, really, really strong flavor. And as much as I am on her side and I will back her to the day I die, I get people not liking Nynaeve. I do. I really, really do. Okay, sorry, there was just some follow-up to this that I want to show. Okay, actually, that might be one of the most popular opinions among new WoT readers. Most come around eventually. Yeah, so in my Discord, if you are a new reader, you haven't finished the books, your name will be pink like this, so that everybody knows not to spoil you. And he says, okay, good, so Jenny won't kick me for my blasphemy then. Yes, it's true. I think most people do come around on Nynaeve. Granted, not everybody does, and again, I'm usually okay with it, because their reasons for not liking her are usually based in true facts about who Nynaeve is. Sorry, it's just, I love you, Nynaeve. I'm sorry, I'm just looking behind me at the poster here. I love you, girl, but you got some issues. So most people do come around on her. They do. But that's it. Yeah, so I'm not going to kick you out for your blasphemy. Moving on to Hopper. I love him. How's that for an unpopular opinion? No. Worst attempt at unpopular opinion ever. Loving Hopper. Not an unpopular opinion. Okay, we got one here from Pilks. Gawyn putting on the blood knife rings initially was the right choice. They were trapped behind enemy lines and needed the edge to escape. The problem is that he didn't then tell Egwene and then went off to do a suicide knowing the effect feeling him die would have. I don't like giving Gawyn any credit. But okay, he didn't. The problem is him not telling Egwene. The problem I keep saying about Gawyn is that he thinks he's the protagonist. And the reason that him being the protagonist would have failed is because he thinks he's the protagonist in the wrong kind of story. Whereas Rand, when Rand was doing the worst was when he was behaving like this, where it's just I don't need anybody else. I'm the guy to be hard. As I'm making this hand gesture. I'm sorry. But sorry. Anyway, he, that's when he was doing the worst. When Rand is doing the best is when he's realizing that he's in a village and he needs everybody to be doing their part. That's when Rand is doing the best. When he realizes, at the end, it's not about me. It's about everyone. It's about all of us. We are all the protagonists in this story. Gawyn thinks that he's the protagonist in a story where there are no other protagonists. He thinks he's the protagonist in your stereotypical story where the redheaded boy gets to be the main guy and nobody else matters. That's what he thinks. And he's wrong, and that's why he sucks. Okay, I sent a ghost again. I definitely think opinions on characters change, depending on the age you were when you started reading, and then evolve as the years pass on later rereads. I too used to get annoyed with Nynaeve, then I got to the point that I realized I was becoming Nynaeve. Now I am Nynaeve, without the power, braid, or shortness. Whereas Gawyn is even capable of making any right choice ever. No! That guy annoyed me as a teen in the 1990s, and on my current reread, he has tempted me to cut out his chapters altogether. Everything he does is just wrong. Even the marginally right thing he attempts are for the wrong, misinformed, stupid reasons. He's good at fighting, but hopeless at picking the right side, or the right fight at the right time, and even when he does, it's for the wrong reasons. He'd be hopeless at multiple choice questions and always pick the duff answer. That is very, very true. I also think, I will just add to this, another thing I think that helps opinions on characters change is context. Like Gawyn, no, Jenny, be very, very careful with this sentence. Galad is now one of my favorites. I love him. I hurt for him early on in the book. So I'm like, oh, poor Galad just needs hugs and therapy and to understand why his mom just like up and left. Like, poor Galad. So yeah, like your opinions on characters change. Also, like, not even just that context of the world we live in as you learn more and grow and change. So yeah, I think that's just normal. We all will grow and change. I said this in an article I wrote a while back about, I think the article was called Poorly Written Female Characters in the Wheel of Time. But one of the things I said in that article is that every person who reads a book takes themselves into the book. Like, we read the books in a context of the world we're in and the context of who we are. Like, there's three things. There's three things engaging with every story that you watch. There's the story that the artists, I guess, created. There's the you that's looking at it, and then there's the context of the world that you are in. That's the lens that you're viewing it through. That's always going to be the case. So as I change and as the world changes, my perspective on the thing that the artist made is going to change as well, just because that's how things work. Okay, Alex has a lot of opinions. All right, the dark one. Trollocs and Myrddraal have survival instincts. It is confirmed in the main series that Shadowspawn fear Shadow Logoth, and that the cry of Manetheren still strikes fear in their hearts. The odds of any Trolloc or Myrddraal living since the Trolloc Wars is slim to none. We know they have rudimentary language, but not indication if they have a written language or oral tradition. I actually do think there is a written language. I think we actually do know about this. I think Lan looks at, like, it's in book 1. Oh, but also, I think it's in book 1. We see Trolloc script. Yeah, in book 2, like, there's Trolloc script on the tower that should have been to Arta Hawkwing. That's a tower, or like a monument to the Trolloc victories. I think we see Trolloc script. Thus it is unlikely they would sit around telling scary stories of Shadow Logoth or Manetheren. I do think they have written language. Thus we can posit that not only do they have a survival instinct, but that Manetheren and Shadow Logoth triggers a primary instinctual fear response, similar to our fight or flight, or fear when facing predators that would have haunted our ancestors. I mean, that's just true. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. I think this is just fact. The dark one here, and another one from Alex. A serious hot take that I was reminded of. Of all the Terangrial that they recovered, the most important is the statue! The statue of the man with the book. I've ranted about this so many times. The one that is a repository of fiction and non-fiction stories. As someone with a history degree, me too, it was my undergrad, you are getting access to documents thought lost to time, knowledge of forgotten technology and way of life. Even the fiction books can be a glimpse into what life was like in the Second Age. Yes! No, not stuff like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. Example, Jack Reacher, Tom Clancy, Clive Cussler. You are getting a snapshot of daily life technology that existed back then, of what people thought and believed. Hells, it would be even a way to confirm things like planes and trains existed. Yes, that said, I'd wish we'd been able to see or gotten to see a Brown Ajah react to that treasure trove. Probably would have passed out on the spot from excitement or shock. I know. I've ranted about this. Elaine, this is cool. But the fiction would be incredible. And that alone is a treasure trove of knowledge. It absolutely is. And as Alex says here, it would hint at what existed. It would also hint at the possibilities. I bet you, in a world where the Aes Sedai, lived, there would be stories and mentions of like, oh, like in a fiction book of an Aes Sedai doing something that the Aes Sedai, current Aes Sedai, have never even thought of. So it would open their eyes to possibilities beyond their imagination. But also that non-fiction section, like maybe it's just biographies. I don't know, but I doubt it. There could be engineering textbooks in there. There could be channeling manuals in there. Like, oh, this is how you do this particular weave. Such and such amount of spirit, such and such amount of blah, blah, blah. You twist it, like, it could be anything. And they, all right, that was the last one that I saw there. And on that infuriating note, that is the end. I've caught up with the hot takes. I'm still over a year behind on memes. But yes, if you want to also contribute to the unpopular Wheel of Time takes, I have a Discord, and this is a channel in my Discord that you can have these conversations in. My Discord is linked in the description below. What are your hot takes? And what do you think of these hot takes? Some of them are very, very, very hot. Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my content and you want to support me, I do have a Patreon that is also linked in the description below. To my patrons, as always, thank you. Thank you so, so much for your continued support. Could not do this without you, so thank you so much. And with that, I am going to end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!